that's the big hope that we have, is not that someone will have some sort of encounter with God's grace that makes everything better one day, but it's the incremental transformation. It's the recognition in any given moment of my life that God is better than I thought, that He's nearer than I thought, and that He's more willing than I thought. And for me, that's the thing that I'm looking for in every single interaction with people, is people can believe in God, they can go to church, or they can not go to church, they can believe in God, they can have this experience where they have a measure of God, but it's so partial and it's so distant that it leaves them with this eject button, right? People live kind of with that eject button. They live with this, I want to hope that God is real. I want to hope that He cares. I want to hope that if I really need Him, He'll show up. But there's enough skepticism, there's enough hesitation, there's enough fear in investing my life in that people hold back. So not realizing it, they're actually keeping God at a distance, and they're keeping the relationship somewhat superficial. And I don't think anybody does that on purpose, right? But what grace does is God taking hold of me when I couldn't take hold of Him. God's grace is Him reaching out for me even when I wasn't reaching out for Him. And for me, those are the moments. It's not so much the moments of pursuit or chasing after that are really the breakthrough, transformational moments. It's the moments that He takes hold of me, that He makes Himself known in my life, that He was orchestrating a path before me, and that He knew something rough was coming, or He knew something hard was coming, or He knew that a dull place in my life, that I was finally going to recognize how dull and strained life was, and I had just grown used to it, or I'd grown almost immune to it, where we have those epiphany moments, and then all of a sudden we see God already standing there. We see Him already present there. And that's the thing that grace does to change a life, is grace is that moment of revelation, that moment of recognition that says, He's here. And He's so much better than I realized. And so often people think of God as far away unless something goes really good or something goes really bad. And I think that's kind of the view that the general public has of God, is if something goes really bad, God must be angry. If something goes really good, God must be happy. That's when something profound happens in people's life. They have this sudden moment of nearness with God, and they're like, man, I'm so grateful for this. God is so amazing. But it's the in-between that I think breaks God's heart the most. It's the in-between where we are not thinking of Him when He's constantly thinking of us. And the awe-inspiring revelation of God is that He didn't get offended in that time frame, that He didn't get ticked off or angry with us that we weren't thinking of Him, but His heart is broken that there is so much more. There's so much more in the everyday span of life, because He's not just near when things are bad, and He's not just near when things are spectacular. He's near all the time. He's nearer than the breath that we breathe. And He's looking for every single moment of interaction, and every one of those moments of interaction is grace. It's not something we can earn. It's something because He chose to be in relationship with us. Because His love was stronger than our resistance. Because His love was stronger than our carelessness or our hesitation or even our guardedness. His love was stronger than that. So He reaches out and He takes hold of the moments of our lives. And my heart, my passion is that people would have a lifestyle of those incremental transforming moments of God's grace, where they realized that He drew near, and they recognized it, and so they just for a moment they receive it, or they allow it, and it touches some place in their heart that felt dead before, or they didn't realize how guarded it was before. And so they open up just a little bit more. And they open up a little bit more, and most people will only trust God with some portion of their life. something that they really desire to change. And he's so patient and he's so good that he's like, okay, we'll just take that. We'll just work with that. And that's really the heart behind all God is, getting into all I am and all we are and all the world, is because it's that entire life that follows that, of those incremental moments of transforming grace, where I realize that he's bigger than I thought, and he's better than I thought, and he's nearer than I thought. So I open up just a little bit more, and he gets a little bit deeper into who I am. And I start to get dissatisfied with those places in my heart and my life that have resigned to less than he designed me for, or have resigned to less relationship than I was created for, whether that's with God or whether that's with a spouse or whether that's with my friends or whether that's with my children or my parents or whoever it is. I think that God's hope for us is so much bigger than we can even wrap our minds around. His hope for us to experience love from him and from people, and to experience a kind of love coming out of us for him and for people that we didn't even know we had a capacity for. To experience an ability to make a difference in people's lives that we didn't know was even possible. I meet people all the time. This is heartbreaking to me. Is I rarely meet somebody that is so hard and so broken that they could just care less about anybody. I mean, you meet people that care about only a small number of people in their lives, but I rarely meet anybody who, when they see somebody that they care about going through something hard, the thing that I hear almost every single time that experience happens is, I just wish there was something more that I could do to help. And the power of grace, allowing more of who God is to get into more of who I am, is that becomes less and less a thing. Because the more I'm transformed by the all of God, and not some partial view, not some just limited, tiny little microscopic viewpoint, but when all that he is starts to get into all that I am, the resource of God's love, the resource of God's mercy, the resource of God's grace, the resource of God's power, all those things that are the evidence of God's grace and his nearness and his mercy and his overwhelming, overtaking love, all of those things start to become something that I can offer to somebody when they're in the moments of their hopelessness, or they're in the moments of their tragedy, or they're in the moments where they're feeling stuck, or they're feeling broken, or they're feeling unsure, or they're feeling, what's the point of life? It's me being transformed by God puts who God is and what he wants for people's lives closer to the people that don't know how to reach for him. And that's why we want all that God is into all that I am and all that we are, because we can do things together that I can't do alone. And into all the world, because we want that experience of grace, that incremental transformation, that incremental coming alive. We want that to be accessible with first-hand relationship for every single person on the face of the earth. And that's not just trying to shoot for some country that's never heard from him. That's the workplace. That's my family. That's my neighborhood. That's some person that I walk alongside every day that is wondering if God is and how God is. And they don't have opportunity to experience him firsthand because there's nobody around them that is living at that point of access.